Hi, everybody. Welcome to A Mighty Blaze. I am Jenna Blum, co-founder of The Blaze with Caroline Levitt and our team of 35 professional creative volunteers. And I'm so happy to be doing Blaze Baking with Rach today with Rachel Levy Lesser and our special guest, Randy Susan Meyers, who I know and love. And we're going to have some toffee talk here today because we made Toffee Bars, or rather, I should say, Rach and Randy did. And I just sat in my cottage in Florida and was the happy recipient of the Toffee Bars, which I will eat. And if you are a return person to the Blaze, a return viewer, thank you so much. Welcome back. The party is not complete without you. If you are new to the Blaze, welcome, welcome. We are, as I said, a team of 35 professional creative volunteers dedicated to linking writers with their readers in the age of COVID, in the age of Delta, in the age of Omicron, in the age of Zelda, in the age of Russian aggression, in the age of any freaking thing the world can throw at us. We are here to bring you authors and their stories. And I would love just to take a moment just to tip my hat to the fact that the world is going through a spasm of anguish right now. We are all aware of this. We're all aware of the news. And I sometimes struggle with, do I have the right to take a little time away from watching CNN and other people suffering to do something like spend time with friends and eat toffee bars? And the answer to that, after struggling with my conscience, is I think it's really important for all of us to take a little time to refresh so that we can be of use to those other people. So I really thank you for taking time away from doom scrolling today. Hopefully you will find this talk replenishing, as I know we will. So thank you. And good luck to everybody out there doing good things in the world. So I'm going to introduce our host, Rach Levy Lesser, and then Rach is going to introduce Randy, and then I'm just going to sit here and eat and ask nosy questions while they have toffee talk and make toffee bars. Rach Levy Lesser is the author of Life's Accessories, a memoir and fashion guide. You can see there's a theme here today since we're talking about the Orphan Sisters and accessories. Rach's work has appeared in the Huffington Post, Glamour, Parenting, Modern Loss, Kveller, and several anthologies. She's a graduate of the University of Pennsylvania and the University of Michigan Business Schools. In her previous life, before we sucked her into the Blaze, as a marketing professional, Rach worked on the business side of Time Inc. on magazines including InStyle, People, and Real Simple. When not writing and promoting, Rach can be found baking, of course. Take it away, my friend.
Thank you, Jenna. Thanks for zooming in or streaming in from Florida today. And I also want to say thank you to introducing me to Randy Susan Meyers. Jenna introduced us and we connected on email right away. And I felt like we've known each other forever. So much in common, so much to talk about. I devoured her book, which we're going to talk about, her latest book, and we're going to bake together. So let me read Randy's official bio and then we're going to get into it and have fun. And thank you all for joining us, as Jenna said, and taking a break from the news to talk toffee and sugar and also learn about writing and the process and author stories and all that good stuff. I think it's really important to do that, especially these days. So I need my glasses here. Randy Susan Meyers is the best-selling author of 6 novels, which have been translated into over 36 languages and cited by the Massachusetts Council of the Book as must-read books. A Brooklyn-Boston mix, I love that, who believes happiness requires family, friends, books, and an occasional New York bagel. She lives in Boston with her husband, where she teaches writing seminars at the Grub Street Writers Center and at Northampton's Writer in Progress. And she was actually just teaching this morning. So thank you, Randy, for doing a quick turnaround from teaching to chat with us while we bake. You can find more about Randy at her website, randysusanmeyers.com. Welcome, Randy.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's wonderful to see you in person, Rachel. And Jenna, always wonderful to see you. It's been many years, great years.
Randy knows all the things. If you guys have questions, as always, chat. But if you want to know questions about things that I don't even remember, you can ask Randy because she freaking knows everything.
Lips are sealed.
Okay. Maybe after some toffee, we'll be okay. We're going to be baking toffee bars. For those of you who are baking at home, I feel like we're going to get started on the baking part and then we can get into some questions with Randy. But this recipe comes from Randy's cookbook, which we were talking about before, The Comfort of Food, which I just adored and loved. And this particular recipe, which we decided on together, it's delicious toffee bars from Confidential Chat. Sarah's favorite at age 10. So can you tell us, Randy, about Confidential Chat, what it was, and how this recipe was in there, and then how you put this wonderful cookbook together?
Absolutely. Confidential Chat was when there is from the Boston Globe, when there used to be a women's section, and way before there was online newspapers. And I believe it was once a week, perhaps on Thursday. And it was sort of a reader-to-reader concept. Readers would send in recipes and comment on recipes and also ask each other how to deal with problems. They were usually family problems, like, my son won't stop throwing every breakable thing in the house. What should I do? And I've gotten some of my best recipes. I still have them cut with pinking shears. I don't know why it's pinking shears, and taped on cards. And they were usually pretty family friendly. And this one, Toffee Bars, is very easy to make, extraordinarily good for you. And I mean, really, really, really healthy. And the favorite of my older daughter. The Confidential Chat was something we always looked forward to, and people still remember it from back in the day. Yep, that's a Toffee Bar.
Look at this health food.
It's health food.
Food. Yes.
Unbelievable.
So that Toffee Bar I actually made earlier in the week. I always make the recipes before the show. And I made those and I sent them to Jenna down in Florida. And I was so happy when they arrived safely. She was happy that they arrived. And my family was a little bummed that they couldn't eat them. I was like, nope, these are going to Jenna.
You didn't give them any? Oh my God. My host.
Like crusty crumbs a little bit. So it really is easy. For those of you baking with us at home, you're going to add your butter now. It's a pound of butter to your bowl. And a pound. I know. I use so much butter these days. It's frightening. But all natural, real butter. And it should be at room temperature, which is just a good baking hack in general. So hopefully you took it out a couple hours ago. If you didn't, feel free to stick it in the microwave for 10 seconds, which is a good little hack. So to the butter, you're going to add a cup of brown sugar, which I have pre-measured out here. So I'm going to add that in. Very easy. And a teaspoon of vanilla.
I should point out that brown sugar is much healthier than white sugar, which is actually not true, but I think I just made it up. But sounds true because it has molasses in it. I think I asked Joanne Chang that.
I was going to say, to go back to another Boston baker, Jen and I interviewed Joanne Chang of Flour Bakery last year, and she told us something we didn't know. Maybe Randy knows this, but if you ever don't have brown sugar in your pantry, you can just add molasses to white sugar. And voila.
And it's so healthy because it has iron in it. So I told you, it's like butter is health food, keeps things, greasy, and makes a glowing complexion.
Yes.
And oh my God, right now I'm full of dogs who have all come to the room because Toffee Bars. They're like, I smell something delicious in there, lady. I smell a pound of butter and also brown sugar.
Oh, I should have said, speaking of good smell, preheat your oven if you're baking with us to 350. Mine's already been preheated. So oven preheated. We have the pound of butter, the cup of brown sugar, the teaspoon of vanilla, and we're going to blend it right here. It's really, really easy, which we like.
Plus, it's a great recipe to make with little kids, because it's so simple. And it's really hard. It's almost impossible to screw up.
Oh,
yeah, I could.
I could do it. Okay, I want to know, since you mentioned that, this is a question I'd love to ask all of our baker guests, but what is your favorite cooking fail that you had?
My favorite cooking what?
Fail. Like, what is like the thing?
I didn't even know you were going to ask it, but I have a primo cooking fail. Okay. I, as you know, Jen, was married very young with my first husband at 19 and was pretty much unsure about everything in life I did. So I invited my in-laws for Thanksgiving to come up from New York to Boston. And I decided to make a wonderful pumpkin pie from scratch. I did. It looked very pretty. And I served it. And we all took a bite and all went and spit it out. Now, what was the reason for the spit out? Well, I'm also a decanter. I like to put things from their original containers into other containers. So I had stupidly put the borax and the sugar
Oh God.
in very similar containers. So what I made for my in-laws was, in fact, borax pie.
That's amazing.
That's
I think
delightful.
that was. I don't think I could come up with a worse failure than that. I can still taste it.
Oh my God, that is a good one.
What does that even taste like? I mean,
Like what you would imagine borax, like a detergent pie.
Oh my God, detergent pie. Actually, I feel like that might be an appropriate thing to serve certain in-laws.
Actually, I don't want to speak out of school, but whatever. I didn't kill anybody.
Good.
But I did get to see everybody spit.
Right.
I love that.
That always reminds me Thanksgiving. I know I'm quoting a TV show, but I have teenage kids. And my daughter watched Friends forever after we watched Friends. The episode where Rachel made a trifle for Thanksgiving and the pages were stuck together. So instead of putting like whipped cream in the middle, she put meat in the middle. She was like, I think of that all the time at Thanksgiving. Yeah. That's like a famous Friends episode. Actually, you guys, there's only really one more simple step in this now that the sugar and the vanilla and the butter are in there. It's just 2 cups of sifted flour, which I pre-sifted, and they're in here. And we're going to add that. And after you're done with that, it's a cup of chocolate chips. And if you want, you could add walnuts or more chocolate chips. I'm not going to do the walnuts because we have some nut allergies here, which, happens. So.
And get more health food though. And can you, like, Randy, do you ever, just to make this even more healthy, do you ever use like unbleached flour or like whole wheat flour?
Well, truth be told, Jenna, I am an extraordinarily healthy cook now. I very rarely bake stuff unless it's somebody's birthday, but I do always use. Actually, I bake almost everything with whole wheat flour now, or with a flour that's called something with an E. It's a very
einkorn flour.
Yes. Woo! Robin Black taught me about einkorn flour.
Yeah.
And so I do use that. And I have also learned in my healthy stuff to use monk fruit.
Oh my gosh. So as a sweetener.
Yes.
Okay. How does one get the monk fruit? How do you procure the monk fruit? And in what form does it come?
Well, I have 2 ways of doing it. One way is I go out to my orchard and I pick all my monk fruits, and I then spend 12 to 14 weeks drying them out. But when I don't have time for that, I go to Whole Foods and buy it, or usually where I buy it is from a company called Lankato, Lankato, who have an enormous amount of they have brown sugar monk fruit, they have golden monk fruit, and it really does taste, to me, it tastes just like sugar, although my husband says I can fool myself into anything, which might be true. But so I have a lot of substitution recipes I've done over the years, which are pretty damn good.
I would love. Are you planning on releasing maybe a cookbook with the substitution recipes? You send out a newsletter online that I should tell everybody to subscribe to, because you could be getting Randy's recipes every week, every 2 weeks, a month.
Not every month, sometimes twice a month, depending on my mood. I really do, because I love doing it. It's so much fun.
Yeah, you guys should check out Randy's website, which is randysusanmeyers.com. Subscribe to her newsletter. I'm listening to you talk about how you garden and your fruits and your baking, and I'm wondering how you do this with being a best-selling novelist and also teaching writing. So your newest book, The Fashion Orphans, which came out, I think, in February 1st or 2nd?
February 1st or 2nd.
So I loved this book. I just want to read a blurb or two. New York Times bestselling author Jennifer Probst said, "It's a fabulous story that dives into the complicated relationships of family and offers a stylish escape into the world of high fashion and Chanel. Simply captivating." So I think I said on my post that this today would be Life's Accessories, the book that I wrote about fashion accessories, is meeting baking when we talk about the Fashion Orphans, because the concept of this book is just really wonderful. Can you tell us how you came up with the concept for the Fashion of Orphans, and also about the writing process, because you wrote this with a writing partner, MJ Rose. So I'm curious to hear about how that is going.
Right.
As I'm doing that, I'm going to put the batter into an 8x8 ungreased pan. How about that? Okay.
This book is different from all of my other books, my other books I would say are more filled with Sturm und Drang. Did I say that right, Jenna?
Sure, it sounds good to me. It's just filled with a lot of ish.
A lot of
operatic family ish.
Oy, Michigas. This one is lighter. And where it came from is that MJ and I were talking about how there's such a lack of contemporary novels with my daughter, with protagonists who are 45 and older. And yet the highest reading group in the United States, at the very least, is 45 and up. Mm-hmm. And so through this back and forth, and we write very different novels. MJ is more gothic or historical fiction and magical fiction. I'm more Michigas. For the non-Jews, troubled families. But we decided to have some fun. And the way we came up with this particular book was kind of organic. You know, how you come up with like what if this? And it started with what if two friends had a mother down in Florida and she died and they both went down to, box up her belongings. And then that became The Fashion Office, which is the story of two sisters, half sisters who are estranged, one very fashionable, one not. One with a very rich father who's died, one with a very not rich father from Brooklyn. And when their mother dies, they expect to inherit a lot of money, but they don't. What they inherit, and this isn't giving much away, closet full of vintage Chanel, like a obsessively enormous amount.
Like a room full, not just a closet, like
a room full.
Yeah.
Now, and from there comes a story of family. The sisters, one's divorced, one's widowed, one is 48, one is 53, and one has children, one doesn't. And it's just a story of, then it moves into Michigas. But the Michigas is leavened by an enormous amount of A, fashion, and B, what does an inheritance mean? What does the possessions that your parents and your grandparents passed down, what do they mean to you? They are more than the sum of its parts. Mm-hmm. One of the things that really got to me was I went to the Museum of Jewish Heritage in New York, when I could still go to New York. Mm-hmm. And in one of the displays was all the things that the families had brought with them to the camps. I mean, like little teacups and, glass candy dishes, and how even at the end people were holding on to these things because they represented family. I mean, this ring I'm wearing is worth nothing, but it was my father-in-law's ring. Even if it turns my hand green, I don't care. It's him. It's like I feel like I'm holding him. So the book is about that, but the book is also a romp into the world of fashion. And MJ and I each got to bring our separate souls together. I wish I could say I was the one that brought in the high fashion and the Upper East Side and all that. Sadly, I brought in the Brooklyn part and the bakery part, because there's the sister from Brooklyn works in a family bakery.
The bakery part was really fun.
It was really fun to write.
I have to say, yeah, I hope I'm not giving away, and I'm not, but when you talk about inheritance, because there's many levels of this book, like it's fun to imagine the beautiful Chanel things, but also the mother sort of speaks to them from beyond through all these little quotes that she leaves in the various items, and somehow they manage to read them at just the right time. And the mother from beyond is giving them advice that they need, which I loved. And they're quotes from Coco Chanel, who was very wise with some of these quotes here. And I emailed this to Randy offline. My mother died a number of years ago, and I had like a very similar experience in the sense of I was hosting my first Thanksgiving as a young married woman and I didn't know anything about anything. I didn't try to poison the people. I know Randy didn't try to poison, but I didn't have a mishap like that. But I was going through all of my things like wedding china and things for my mother, and I didn't even know what anything was. And I opened up this weird piece of this china dish, and I had no idea what it was. And on the back of it, it was a Post-it note with my mother's handwriting that said "Gravy Boat Rach" with a smiley face.
Oh.
And I felt like, and she always signed things with a smiley face. And I felt like when I was reading this book, I was like, this happened to me. So, truth can be stranger than fiction, or, we get art from real life from art. So I completely related to so much of this, also having to clean out my mother's closet, which was not all Chanel at all, but just, going through things and being attached to things. So I think no matter what is in your mother's closet or your grandmother's closet or your aunt or your sister's, it's very relatable. So very well done, Randy, I have to say.
Thank you. Well, magic is everywhere. And MJ brought a lot of the magic in because her books are always infused with magic. And so we had to have that. And another level is exploring loss and death and coming away with the realization that you don't just get to know your family while they're alive. You also get to know them after they've passed. And a lot of that is through what they leave behind and really starting to feel it. I mean, often our most prized possessions, like one of my most prized possessions is a brass mortar and pestle that my great-grandfather brought back from Romania. And Jeff's, my husband's most prized possessions of all the stuff, is a blue glass seltzer bottle that he remembers being in his kitchen in Brooklyn. These are the things that really speak to us.
Yeah, no, I so get that. And like I said, I found it so, and I was reading it out loud. Like, I was like, no way, when I would get to certain parts of it. So it's pretty amazing. When you wrote with MJ, like, what was that process like? Did you, not to get too into the weeds, did you use Google Docs? Did you write one chapter? Did she write another chapter? Did you revise each other's work? Was it back and forth? And especially during a pandemic, how did you do it?
Well, we used the same method before and after and during the pandemic, and it was actually pretty easy. I wrote all the first draft. I would write the first draft, send it to her. She would revise that, but not send it back to me, because then I would go on to, unless we had something that she said, oh, this is going to happen, so it'll change it. We had done a very intense outline.
Okay.
So I kept writing and sending it to her, and then I didn't revise until after that was all done, because you need things to cool down a little bit before you revise. And so we basically just kept washing it through one after another, and it went very smoothly.
So you planned it out. You're a planner.
A big planner.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, because we had very different strengths in writing, like I'm very big on big scenes with families and dialogue, and Melise, MJ, that's her real name, is Melise. MJ, what she really loves is the art and fashion and description and that. So I would sometimes, like if I was describing the mother's apartment, like, and they entered the mom's apartment, I'd write, Melise, describe apartment. Because, I have no idea what an apartment on the upper, I could describe the Brooklyn apartment. So we would leave things for each other, and it went very smoothly.
That's very cool. That's interesting. I love, now that I've read it, that's interesting to think about kind of what you put in and what she put in, because it just flowed together so beautifully. You sort of forget that it was written by.
Well, that's why we did it like that. We, that way of not doing chapter, so that it would be all smoothed out.
Right. Anissa, who's watching, just wrote, my mother only cooked at Thanksgiving, and I have her stuffing recipe in her handwriting. I treasure it. That's so nice. I think a lot of people have recipes in handwritings, and in Randy's book, Comfort, and her cookbook, The Comfort of Food, you can see on the first page, I don't know how well you can see it, but the handwriting is sort of baked in there. No, well, I guess pun intended, baked in there.
Well done. Good job.
Yeah.
We see how you did that. We see how you did that.
I think
those are the original recipes and handwritings that we took shots. This started as something for my daughters.
The comfort of food.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm putting this in the oven while you do tell us, but it has to go in the oven for 25 minutes.
We don't have a ton of, we don't have a really big family, but we do have our recipes, and they mean a lot to us. You know, the things that we've passed down, and they're all corny kind of recipes, like the best stuffing in the world. But so I was writing it for my children, and then I thought, well, this might be too good. I'm doing all this typing just for my kids. And so I decided to make it into a cookbook and give it for free to my book clubs. So whenever a book club did something, they would get a cookbook. And I managed to put in pictures of my friends and like Found on the Street brownies is one of my favorites. Found on the Street brownies is that I literally found a cookbook on the on the street called the New Delinator Cookbook that has one of the best brownie recipes ever found in the United States. Very crunchy and thin, the way I like them. My daughter now has the cookbook because she, daughters grab and take. It's like, it's Mom's, so that means it's mine. And so it was doing this was a lot of fun for me. And on the cover is me at my cousin Gary's bar mitzvah.
Oh my God, love. Oh, I love this photo of you. I have seen this before. I love that.
This is, I was 14 years old and you learn lessons because I remember this I remember being this age and thinking how hideous I was.
No.
Oh, don't we all have that?
I actually was legit hideous at that.
No, I'm sure you were not.
No, actually,
no, you were not.
Yeah, it actually was the thing. And by the way, Randy has amazing photos always on her Insta. So
yeah, follow Randy on Insta.
Like you can young Randy, bar mitzvah Randy, like young activist Randy, like current activist Randy. Lots of Ruth Bader Ginsburg recipes, gardens. Like if you want to again sort of just take a 3 deep breaths break from your day and all of the mishigas in the world, you should definitely check out Randy's Instagram and invite her to your book club. Hello, people. I just popped this up, but like,
yes, definitely invite Randy to your book club. Thank you for bringing that up, Jenna, because can you tell our viewers, Randy, how you became an author? I know that's a big story, but I feel like you lived a whole life before this and sort of what brought you to writing and your activism work and how you sort of, found your place as an author. Because I think it's a really cool story.
Well, of all the things in the world that mattered to me growing up, nothing mattered more than reading and books. Nothing. It saved me. The local library saved me. I grew up tough. Not that I was tough, but it had a tough upbringing. But reading raised me. Books. I was raised by books, my sister and I. So that's there in the background. I always wrote, I always played around. Then I made the just brilliant decisions of getting married at 19, having kids at 21, blasey, blasey, blasey. All the way along, I was writing, but, when you get divorced, married at 19, of course, you must then get separated at 29. I think it's a law. So I was raising, I had to follow the law. So what am I going to do? Go to jail? So I was raising 2 daughters, getting them through college, blah, 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 and working as an activist in my neighborhood, and then running a local community center, and then working for community centers, and then working with criminals. But all the time, books were what kept me grounded. I mean, when you asked Rachel, how do I do all this stuff? Well, there are many ways to manage anxiety. One is drinking, the other is working. So I luckily didn't take the drinking side. Manja.
Baking too.
Baking. So when my mother died, I decided it was time to get serious. It was now or never kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I was remarried to a wonderful, responsible, fantastic guy. Jenna knows how good he is. Good like gold, right?
He really is the sweetest guy. He has galoshes.
And
that's all you need to know.
I decided it was time. And so I started with a stint at the Boston Adult Ed, ended up in Jenna's master novel class, took it all very, very seriously. And at 57, published my first novel. And it was sort of a determination thing. It's like, you must do this and you must take it seriously and you must do it well. And I guess I followed my dream that was part of it. But the other part was I wouldn't let myself off the hook.
Wow, that's amazing.
Randy, how could you publish your first novel at 57 when you're only 47 years old?
I know. I was wondering.
Well, that was the kind of thing. I'd grow a backwards tree outside next to the monk fruit trees.
You know, it's so funny you said that, because just this morning I was cleaning out my inbox and I got the Cup of Joe newsletter, which is wonderful. And they did a story on people, and a few of them were writers. And I find it very inspiring, and especially for some of our writers and aspiring writers who are watching, that you published your first novel at 57 and have since then published 6 successful novels. I think it said in this newsletter that I was reading that Julia Child, I think she first got into cooking in her 40s, and her first cookbook came out maybe in her late 40s or at the age of 50. So you just never know. I find that really inspiring, because I think people of all ages, particularly young people, think that they need to have it all figured out yesterday, and you just kind of don't know. So,
Laura Ingalls Wilder, I believe, was in the 60s when she started publishing her books. And, you know, getting an agent is very hard. As Jenna knows, I switched agents. I didn't go right to the agent I have now for reasons that just show how neurotic I am. I didn't want to be presumptuous, so that's why I didn't go to the first agent. Whatever. But then when I finally got the right agent, who's the same agent as Jenna's, and after going through this, you know, the hunt and the writing and the years and the Stephanie then sold the book in 8 days.
Wow.
So you just never know when things will suddenly turn on a dime. And Jenna and I both know somebody very dear who's a brilliant writer who published her first novel in her 70s. Mm-hmm. And it's a gorgeous book. So there you go.
Yeah, that's amazing and very inspiring. So how has it been going since the Fashion Orphans came out? Can you tell us about some of your events and what you're planning to do? And I know you love to do book clubs. So definitely, people watching, if you want to invite Randy to your book club, check it out.
Well, on my website are a couple of upcoming events. The events are much less than they would have been because I have not been traveling at all. I've turned down all in-person events because we have some family issues with health that we got to be really careful about. So no Omicron. And
that's why we can be together here magically. And it's so wonderful. And we have people watching from all over the country.
Mm-hmm. And as I always do, by the time a book comes out, I'm generally deep into my next one.
Okay.
And so I'm deep into I'm writing and teaching and enjoying.
That's great.
And watching TV a lot. I mean, we all have to watch a certain amount of TV per day. That's also the law.
Yeah, my TV tree drops series into my apartment. So what is your favorite series that you're watching right now? We need to know.
Well, I just finished Inventing Anna.
Oh, we just started watching that.
Which, once I read something, though, I have to then go and find out everything there is to know about the real thing. And so then I read the book that somebody wrote about called My Friend Anna, and that was fascinating. So that's one. And now we're watching a show from 2015 that is just wonderful called, I think it's One Mississippi. It's Tig Notaro's show. Do you know Tig Notaro, the comedian?
No.
Jeff and I decided last night that it's one of those nourishing, gentle, funny shows that's about some very serious material, but Tig Notaro is wonderful. It's a woman who comes back home after when her mother dies, and this isn't giving anything away. She's gay, and she has just had breast cancer. So it all sounds very sad, but it's not. It's about her reconnecting with everything. And Tig Notaro, her delivery is like godlike. It's so good. She's just and she has a radio show, and it's about her and her radio show and her OCD stepfather and her brother who does Civil War reenactment. So it's very quirky.
Oh my God, that's so great. What is the name of the show again?
It's either Leaving Mississippi or One Mississippi. It's Tig Notaro, TIGNOTARO. Wonderful, wonderful little gem of a show.
I love how we're doing Rex. It's so funny since we're all readers and writers here. I usually read the book before I see the movie, or the show. But because of just everything going on in the pandemic, that doesn't always happen. I recently watched The Tender Bar, the movie with Ben Affleck, and then I went back and read the book because everybody said the book was so amazing. So I love doing that. And by the way, why I'm watching, and I also listen to a lot of things, and I'm watching a lot of Blaze shows. I feel like when I'm doing that, I'm always baking at the same time. So it's a good way to get it all done, I guess, right?
You know, I think I don't know about you, Rachel, but I think Jenna and I share a very wide and un-Catholic small C reading habits. So we read all over right, Jenna? So we don't have any one particular genre that we're stuck into. So this was in my newsletter, but this week was how to be so intense you want to jump off a roof and yet feel thoroughly nourished by it. So I'm going to recommend, I'm pretty obsessed by the Rosenberg case, Ethel and Julius Rosenberg. And a book was just released last year about Ethel Rosenberg by Anna Seba. This book will rip your heart out in a very good way. And I'm listening to that in audio. And the other one is, have you read Yellow Wife by Sadiqa Johnson?
No.
Oh, man. It's a slavery book. So, I go from execution to slavery, but it's about, I like books that show me pieces of history that I hadn't seen quite that angle before. And she talk about the God and No, Stephen King with his, you have to put the God and No in a book. This book grabs you by your throat, the first page. And then you keep going.
It's funny.
Exactly, Margaret. Hard, but good. Perfect.
We need that. Yep.
Thank you, Margaret. Margaret posted this morning that she was going to try to bake with us. She was asking about the right size pans. I was like, it doesn't matter. I should have said I used an 8x8 pan, but you could use a 9x9. We kind of go with the flow here.
It's a very forgiving recipe.
It really is.
Or you could just put the batter in your mouth and eat it. I mean, that would be okay too, I find, right? Although I have been told by all the bakers that we've had on Blaze that you're not supposed to do that and eat the raw batter.
Well, there's no eggs in here.
Right, so I could eat that. I am alive. I am still alive.
Yeah, and I think our
many years
are very tough because we grew up eating all that raw batter and also brownies we found on the street and also like books and
and also raw hamburger when I was little. It used to be a treat to eat a little raw hamburger as my mother made whatever she was making.
I mean, Margaret said that we won't bake it that way. I'm like, that is not actually an issue, Margaret. But if you do you, like, put it in your baking pan, bake it. That's fine. Rach, what temperature did we bake at again for this?
We baked it. Oh, it doesn't matter. No, that does matter. We baked it 350. So 350 for 25 minutes. Really, this recipe came out so beautifully last time, and it ships well too. It made it all the way down to Jenna.
It does ship well, and I am in a guest cottage, and my hosts are like, when is the baking show over? Because Toffee Bars, and I'm just like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about.
I know. I am excited for these. Randy, can you tell us a little bit about what the book is that you're working on right now, or do you not want to?
I can. This book is a bear. As easy as The Fashion Orphans was to write, this one is. Let me use another Yiddish expression that you'll understand.
This is like Yiddish baking with Rach.
It's
so awesome.
Ripping my kishkas out. I don't know.
Yes.
How long since you've heard that expression? It's the working title, is the Children's Commune, and it's about a politically based commune in Boston and Mission Hill, where in the 70s, although the book starts in the 60s, where they're all very intense. And they all have children. And they decide to send the children to their own commune in Vermont so they can have an idyllic life. Needless to say, trouble ensues.
Michigas
ensues.
Yep. Michigas ensues is also a really great title for a book. I think
that is a good title.
Ooh, yeah.
Ensues, right? Although your title is better, Randy. I'm just saying if you ever get stuck for,
And Margaret's learning Yiddish. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I love it. Yeah, that was like the thing I learned from my grandfather was all the Yiddish swear words.
Somebody wrote to me recently.
I don't know what it means. I don't know what the words mean, but I use them probably inappropriately.
I grew up thinking that my mother made up words because I grew up in a very, very culturally Jewish, but totally non-anything. I mean, nothing, zero, zilch. So I just thought they were these words that my mother made up. And then later I learned those words were Yiddish. But she lived with her great-grandmother for quite a while, and my great-grandmother came over from Romania. And so, even now there are words I'll sometimes say, made up or Yiddish? And I have to contact somebody who knows a lot more than me to find out.
Or just like drop them at a cocktail party and see what happens.
Or see if they work in the Wordle, if they're 5 letters.
Oh, Wordle. Thank God for Wordle. Jeez.
Yeah. So you're deep into it now with the writing, like you're in.
I am. Well, I was deep into the research for a long time.
Okay.
And then I finally started the writing, and now I realize I did so much research that I have to carve some of it out. Sometimes it's like you just dump it all in, and you say, okay, you're not writing a history of the 60s, 70s, and 80s. So let's back away here and get to it. But it's weird revisiting some of that time. It really is. Because it starts with 64. It starts with when people were going down to Mississippi for the freedom riders and stuff. So it's pretty interesting.
Wow, that's
amazing. And I love research. Jen and I share that. We love research.
You'll have to keep us up to date, and then when it comes out, you'll come on and we'll bake something else. We'll have to think of something else.
We'll bake homemade granola. Like the kids in the commune, they each get to make the granola of the week with whatever they want in it.
I love that.
God. With like pebbles and like I used to make this in my backyard with my brook. I made all sorts of recipes that I then tried to force my parents to eat. And
I used to do that too. I used to make up recipes and make my parents eat them.
I didn't have. My mother worked full time and was very rarely home. I was very hungry because we didn't have much food in the house. So one day I decided to make chicken soup. How hard could that be? I was like 6 or 7, so I just put a frozen chicken in a pot and turned it on.
No, as one does. And then 20 years later, you serve that to your in-laws with some borax.
And there you go.
Viola.
And everybody wants my cookbook now.
Yeah, it's really good. By the way, there was one recipe that stood out. You were talking about the descriptions, found on the street brownies, but there was something for, I love this. I love this description. Might as well be dessert noodle kugel.
Oh, yes. That's a good.
My mother used to say stuff like that. I would eat noodle kugel for dessert. I would eat it all the time. So
that's the best kugel recipe in the world. And you know where it came from?
Where?
Breakstones.
Yes.
That's what I was telling you.
Yes.
My mother-in-law, who I think is watching, makes probably the best noodle pudding I've ever had. But I was asking her about some of her recipes, and she had like a brownie cheesecake recipe that she got on the back of the cream cheese box.
Yeah, totally. Right. My chocolate chip cookie recipe before Rach came from the back of the chocolate chip bag, not cookie bag.
So we've had on, Magnolia Bakery and Flower Bakery back in the day, and these are all very high-end artisan recipes that are worked on for years. I'm cooking a lot of Ina Garten, which apparently takes her years to develop a recipe. And at the same time, we get some of our stuff on the back of the butter box, and that's okay too.
Oh, Margaret, you write to me, and I will send you this recipe.
Yeah, Margaret, we're going to get you going on this.
No problem. It's easy as pie, and my family begs me to make it.
So good. I have had it. It is awesome. I really want you guys to go to Randy's website and sign up for the newsletter.
There's a lot of content there. It's really cool.
And it's book content and just hand holding content. I feel like you hold the hands of everybody in the world, especially in the last 2 years, which have been interesting. And the last, week has been interesting. Obviously, there's so much warmth that comes from Randy. She is the warmth of the universe. You can go get warm, and you can go get happy, and you can go get recipes, and you can get books and book recommendations and all of those things. We need this right now. We need
That's the rest of your day. RandySusanMeyers.com.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Oh, aren't you're so sweet, both of you.
I mean, no, you know better than that, honey. We just call them as we see them. And Rach is actually sweet, but I
actually love Rachel's book. By the way, let me give a shout out. I finished Rachel's book, and it's wonderful. And we hold Camp in Common and so many other things. And every book of Jenna's is to die for. I love the Woodrow book. I was there when Woodrow first came to her house, so I know Woodrow. In fact, before I took a a writing class with Jenna, I had to read her because I don't believe in learning from someone if I don't respect their writing. So buy, read.
Thank you.
I love this. This is the Mutual Admiration Society. Love Ina Garten recipes. She's my go-to. Yes, I'm trying to cook Ina every night for dinner. So
yeah, because Rach is on a mission to do Julie and Julia, except it's going to be Rach and Ina, and we will get her.
We'll get Ina on the show.
Yep.
Ina has an upcoming show where she's going to bring her friends to her house, and obviously we'll be her friends soon, so we'll be there.
Oh, you'll be the first guest.
Definitely. Yeah. So Ina, if you're watching, I'm available.
How could she not be watching? Also, like Margaret is talking about the Fashion Orphans again. This is with MJ Rose, who's been on our Crime Time.
Yes.
Thank Flippy Ryan, who we all worship and revere. So can you tell us a little bit about MJ, Randy, for those of you who don't know MJ, who
co-wrote the book with you? Yeah, tell us a little bit about MJ.
MJ has written multitudes of books, far more than any of us. And of late, most of them have been wonderful historical fiction, Gothic stuff. She reveals history that is amazing. The Secret Language of Stones is one of my favorite of her books. And it tells a story of a time that I didn't really know enough about when masks were made, iron masks for people who had lost part of their faces, which is also highlighted on Boardwalk Empire, by the way, another favorite show.
Yeah.
And she also is the founder of Author Buzz, which is an author marketing company. And she also has she started with Liz Berry, Steve Berry's wife, a publishing company called Blue Box Press. So she's an all-around person who also knows an enormous amount about art and fashion and the Upper East Side, and basically grew up in the Metropolitan Museum of Art, whereas I grew up on Ocean Parkway hanging from iron bars.
And you will see those two childhoods come together in the Fashion Orphans, basically. I mean, that's what it is in a way, right? I think it was described by someone as fashion items, which can best be described as Bergdorf and the Gap or something like that.
Oh, yeah, I wrote that. Yeah, it's Bergdorf versus the Gap, Chanel versus Converse sneakers.
I loved it. Yeah,
I totally love that also. I am in the Chanel. I'm not in the Chanel camp. I'm in the Gap, Converse, Hunger Games, fashion ideology camp.
I'm in the anthropology camp where I'm obsessed with that store.
Oh, I do love. You know what? Pre-pandemic, I was very anthropology. Pre-pandemic,
I feel better about my whole life when I walk into an anthropology store.
I do too, but I haven't been in like 2 years. And like Randy, tell us, because I know a little bit about this, but your writing schedule I find amazing. Like you are very prolific. In my world, since I put out a book like every 5 years, and in that time you put out like 3 or 4 books. But can you tell us your writing schedule, and then how has it been changed, if at all, by the pandemic? Or you just, like many writers saying, like pandemic didn't really change that much for me, except for the speaking part?
Well, when I'm in the middle of a book and active writing, I can do maybe 3 or 4 hours a day. And then the rest of it is more the business of writing, which is, answering emails and putting together stuff and blah, 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 working on one's website. When I'm revising, I can do 10 hours straight. I love revision. Revision is just my love. And often when I'm beginning and ending a novel, I will go away for a week or 2 with the same friend, almost always, and usually to Provincetown, off season, and just hunker down. And I feel blessed. I mean, maybe it's because I came to writing older, and I did so many weird jobs. I mean, I just put up a post recently again about, my home, about bartending, working at Blimpies, or an MFA, what fed my writing. And, I've done so many jobs, from bartending to working at Blimpies to working with criminals, that I'm so grateful that I was able to leave that and write full time along with teaching, that I just feel like I've been given the lucky duck star of the year. That was a very badly written sentence. The lucky duck star of the year.
No, I kind of love that, actually. But I think you've earned your lucky duck star of the year and all the years. Just working at Blimpies and working with criminals, which growing up in New Jersey, I can say it's kind of the same thing, I think. But That's just me. Maybe.
Except you smell worse working at Blimpie's when you come out.
I don't know. Yeah, I think that is actually great.
Yeah.
Yes. And
I'm going to get these, keeping you guys on track. I'm going to get the Toffee Bars out of the oven because they're ready. And It's funny that Margaret brought up Crime Time because I want to talk about what's coming up this week on The Blaze. But before I do that, Jenna, can you talk about what's going on The Blaze on Friday for a very special event that you're doing that we want you all to come to?
No, yes, absolutely. Yes, while you get the bars out of the oven, thank you. Yeah. So those of you who are watching Horror Writers, or even if you're not, oh Jesus God, sorry, my phone. Stop! I'm on that phone. I'm on a show. I'll call you right back. Teehee. This is my life now. So on Friday, if you're a writer or if you just want to up your social media game, I am teaching the first ever course through The Blaze that's social media for writers by writers. And the reason I do this is that unlike Randy and unlike me, and actually unlike Rach, most writers actively hate, despise, and loathe social media. And every time I am on a show in the green room, if I'm out on the road talking to people, and saying like, oh, I just posted this on Insta, I get this instant recoil reaction from people saying, oh, I have to do it to promote my books. I hate it. Can you do it for me? And my answer is always, yes, we can. And on Blaze, we actually do have an arm of the team that does social media content creation. But on Friday, March 4th, take some action, March 4th, see what I did there at 12 noon Eastern. I'm going to be hosting this course that will give you all the tools that you need to do your own social and make it fun. I promise to make it fun or else. And I've taught this course before for Grub Street Writers, which Randy and I both teach for, and at other institutions, and they always sell out because people need help with social. So if you want help with social, come to me, chickens. I will tell you all my tips and hacks and tricks and things that I've been doing since 2005 when I first got on Facebook, because there used to be a thing called Dog Book, and I didn't want my dog to be unpopular. So, and our Margaret, who is watching and commenting about the time, is my producer for this. And so she is so excited.
It's going to be great. And you can sign up on a Mighty Blaze website. Register now. It's going to be great. I'm so excited about this. There's such a need for this. I have so many friends who are writers, and they're so scared of promoting in social media. We love to do it. Obviously, that's why we do it. But you're going to learn so much. It's going to blow your mind.
Oh my God. And I should point out, this is the starter kit.
So this is the beginning.
Basic author brand. You need a website. What even is TikTok? What the hell is an Instagram story? Why does it disappear? Facebook, Twitter. I hate Facebook. How can I be on it? Twitter, Instagram. Why do they
What's a hashtag?
What is a hashtag even? And then I'm going to do a social media level up as well. And then we have a lot of other tips for authors by authors that we're going to be rolling out. So we're going
to have a lot of cool courses coming up. So it's exciting. Also coming up this week on regular Blaze, I want to tell you what we have coming up on Sunday. Check out our podcast. Our podcast is 1 year old, right?
Yes, it is. It just turned 1. It's our toddler podcast.
Yes. We're having Ian Emanuel on Tuesday with Crime Time. Hank is interviewing Erica Ferenik. Wednesday, a special interview where Caroline's going to interview Jennifer Hopp. Thursday on Author Spotlight, Rachel B. I love that there's a Rachel B and I'm the Rachel L. There's always a lot of Rachel's and Jen's and Lisa's our age. Interviews Jennifer, another Jennifer High. Thursday, Zeitgeist, Jane is interviewing Jane Peck. Is it Jane or Jen Peck? Sorry. No, Jane Peck. Sorry. Getting all the J's mixed up. Friday at noon is Jenna's special event, and also a special Friday frontlighter. Jenna's interviewing Lisa Barr, who I love. So we have some really, really great stuff coming up. I also want to tell you our next Blaze Baking with Rach show is coming up. It's actually going to be a special day, Friday, March 18th at 2 p.m. And I'm interviewing Eve Rodsky, who I adore, who wrote Find Your Unicorn Space. She's also the best-selling author of Fair Play. And Find Your Unicorn Space is about sort of finding creativity in your life. And it is so inspiring and amazing. I read it and then I listened to it. And we're going to bake Ima's chocolate chunk cookies. Kind of fun. And we're going to have a wonderful chat with her. You're going to come away like so inspired. So that's all good stuff. Am I missing anything else before we say goodbye to Randy and thank her for sharing her time and her energy and her recipes and all of her great stories with us today?
And her toffee talk and the toffee bar. How did the bars turn out?
I have to show you guys. Hang on.
Yeah.
I put in my mitts.
Let me see. Oh my God, it's so good.
Perfect.
So
Really
good.
So easy. So easy. They smell so good. So thank
And
you.
healthy.
And healthy.
And they're healthy. A pound of butter, sugar, flour, stuff, chocolate,
So healthy.
coffee, so healthy, so good. We all need this right now, right? Life is a
We
little
do.
challenging. We need a little toffee talk and love and bars.
We do.
Thank you guys.
And it's all natural. Thank you, Randy. We so appreciate your time. We loved having you here. Go check out Randy on her website and on social and all those good things.
Thank you. Thank you. It was wonderful to meet you in real life, kind of. Today's your life. And Jenna, when you're back in Boston, it's time for us to go back to anthropology.
Oh my God, totally. Right.
I'm coming to Boston Anthropology.
Yeah, we'll have an expedition with bar, which I can't eat too many of these bars where I'm going to have to go to like special anthropology. Love you guys. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, everybody. See you next time.
Be well.
Yay.
Thank you.